Hi friends, today's video is all about primers, concealers, color correctors, and the best way to apply foundation to mature skin and how to set it so that it stays in place all day. This is a second video in a 6-part video series for beginner makeup for mature skin. I will link the playlist in the description box, so please make sure you click that subscribe button for more easy makeup and style videos for the woman over 50. We have a lot of information to cover today, and we're going to start with primers. I like to think of my skin after it's been moisturized as a wall that is about to be painted. You just don't put paint on the wall, you prime the wall first. So that's kind of like what a primer does. It's going to fill in any imperfections on your skin. It's going to smooth out your skin. It may even blur out any color that you might have. You want to start with a smooth canvas, which is what we did in the last video where we prepped the skin for flawless makeup application. So I have a couple of primers that I want to talk about, and I really like the Hourglass Primer. I like it because it applies nicely. It really feels like silk on your face, and it really, when you touch your skin is dry, and it does feel like silk. I have oily skin, so it's very important for me not to have anything that feels greasy on my skin, because I don't like that feeling at all. So I really like this primer. Now, if you're looking for more of a drugstore type primer, I have tried this e.l.f. Matte Putty Primer, and I do like it, but I will say that of all the primers that I've tried on my skin, it does kind of make my skin feel a little oily. But you know, it is a great little primer, and I use it for my eyelid primer, and it does a great job of keeping eyeshadow on. Because you know, it says it's a face primer, I like a product that multitasks, and there's no reason why you can't use something for dual purposes. And the primer that I used today, it was my very first time using it. It is by IT Cosmetics, and it's their oil-free makeup gripping base. I think that it did a really nice job. However, it has a slight scent to it. It almost smells like beer. Kind of a strange scent, but it dissipates. Like, you really only notice it whenever you're taking it out of the container. So far, so good. Like, my skin does not feel oily. I thought that it did a great job of prepping my skin for foundation. And there is another primer that I want to mention that I talked about in the last video. It's by Tizo 3, and it is a primer sunscreen. And this is nice because it has a bit of a tint to it, and it just blurs out any imperfections in the face, and you can use this and then apply makeup over it. So now that you have primed your skin, it's very important to make sure that your face is dry. So you want to give your primer a few minutes to set and to dry, because if you start applying your foundation, especially a powder foundation, you may run into a little bit of trouble. So the next step after the primer, what I like to do is I like to do my color correcting and concealing. Some people do their concealing after the foundation. You just have to find what works best for you. But this is the way that I'm doing it. So our mature skin has different needs from when we were younger. What we learned in our 20s just isn't going to work the same when we're in our 40s, 50s, and beyond. My philosophy is that less is more. You see a lot of beauty YouTubers putting that huge triangle of concealer under their eye. You cannot get away with that when you have mature skin, and you don't need that much concealer. You want to start with just the slightest amount and then shearing it out. Because as you will see, you put a little bit on your face, but then it's getting pulled down onto your skin. So it's doing a great job of concealing not just where you put it, but where you're also shearing it into your skin. Now you can use your fingers. I like to use a beauty blender or a sponge, but most recently I purchased these brushes from BK Beauty. They're by Angie Hot and Flashy, and I have to tell you, her concealer brush really is a game changer. As you can see, when I'm applying the concealer, it really smooths the concealer nicely under the skin. It doesn't tug at my skin, because your under eye skin is very sensitive, and you don't want to create any more wrinkles by pulling on the skin. So you want to start with a dot in the corner of your eye, because you want to bring light into the corner of the eye. So light is going to reflect off of that. And then you want to put a couple of dots underneath your eye where the darkness is, and then, you know, take your time tapping that into the skin. So you really don't want to rush on this step. You really want to take your time when you're prepping your skin. Go back to the analogy of when you're prepping a wall to paint. Most of your time is spent on the prep work, and you're really going to be happy that you take your time with preparing your skin. So I do have a couple of concealers, some that I like better than others, but before I get into them, I want to show you this product by Charlotte Tilbury. It's a color corrector, and a color corrector is a type of concealer. There are different colors. I use the fair shade because I have blue circles under my eyes. So first I like to go in with a color corrector. And most days I will wear just this because most days I'm not wearing makeup. I'll just put this on under my eyes and it just brightens up underneath the eyes. So a color corrector is a type of concealer. It hides blue circles. Go check out that video where I go more in depth on that. So what's the difference between a color corrector and a concealer? Well, they're both concealers, but a color corrector camouflages purple, blue, or colors of a bruise, where concealers are used to lighten dark circles. Now, a lot of people like the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye concealers. I have it in the original and I also have it in the Illuminated. I don't use them that often because I do find them a bit thick. Like that tiny amount would probably do both of my eyes and then some. You really have to shear it out. It's really thick. And then this is the Illuminating one. It's also quite thick. That's it, but it seems to catch the light a little bit more. Now, if you really need to conceal something, you know, that's dark, you might like this, but starting out, if you're gonna try the Bye Bye Under Eye, it's a great product, but a little bit goes a long way. So you wanna, you know, put the tiniest amount on. It's always better to build things up and not put gobs on and then trying to, you know, fix the problem. The concealer that I have been using and liking lately is by Hourglass. I like that it has a nice wand. It's easy just to put dots on and it shears out pretty nicely. The only complaint that I have about it, and I should probably do an in-depth video, is that I find it doesn't look that great under my eyes after a couple of hours. It's moving around, so it is a nice concealer, but I think for mature skin, it's probably not the best. So next up is foundation. There are so many foundations. It's really a matter of personal choice. It's best to have a hydrating foundation, especially on older skin. Look for something with hyaluronic acid. The hyaluronic acid is going to hydrate the skin. You can apply it with your fingers, a sponge, or a brush. I think that it's best to look for buildable formulas. You don't want to put anything on that's too thick. Now again, I have the IT Cosmetics, I have the original, I have the Illuminating. I have videos where I go into depth talking about how to apply these. I'll put them in the description box. You can go check them out. I have a powder foundation. I personally love powder foundation. This is the one by IT Cosmetics. This is in the shade medium. It's their Celebration Illumination. The only thing, if you're gonna wear powder foundation, you want to make sure that you have really exfoliated well. So go watch the first video in this series where I talk you through how to prep your skin. And one that I also like from the drugstore is by L'Oreal. It's their Infallible 24-hour Freshwater Foundation. It's very similar to the IT Cosmetics one because L'Oreal owns IT Cosmetics. So those are great foundations that work. I have large pores. They don't really settle into my pores. Actually, I have found that powder foundation works better on my skin because sometimes when I use a liquid foundation, I find that accentuates my pores. So it's really a matter of personal preference, and you really have to play around and find the one that works for you. But like I said, a lot of ladies swear by the IT Cosmetics CC cream. And to apply your foundation, like I said, you could use your fingers. I like a beauty blender. The thing with a beauty blender, you can really shear your foundation out. Sometimes I find when you use a brush, my liquid foundation goes on a little thicker than I want it to, but I will tell you, I recently bought this brush. It's BK Beauty. It's their foundation brush number 101. This is the best brush I've ever used for applying foundation. Whenever you're using a brush or a sponge, the way that I like to apply my foundation is tap it into the skin. I find that if you try and just, you know, like swipe it across the face, it just does not look good. It's better just to take your time and tap it in. And say you need a little more coverage on your cheeks, just go ahead and after you've done the first layer, just add more coverage where you need it. You don't have to put it all over your face again. Wherever you feel that you need more coverage, just do those areas. And then after you have applied your foundation, if it's a liquid foundation, I would go ahead and set it with a powder. If you've used a powder foundation, I don't really think it's necessary unless you're super oily and you want to set your T-zone. Again, how do you put on a powder? You can use a nice fluffy brush. I like this one by Cosmetics because I use it for setting powder, I use it for bronzer, and sometimes I'll even use it for blush. I can just, you know, squeeze the end of the brush, makes it thinner, and then if I want to do contouring, I can use it for that. So I have 3 favorite powders. The first one that I really like is by Hourglass. This works so nice on my skin. It's a loose powder. This is a travel size. I just bought the travel size because I knew it would last me a long time. You just put a little bit in the top and then you just take your brush, dab it on, and you're good to go. It's that easy. You could also use a sponge if you wanted to. Another powder, and this is the one that I'm wearing today, is by Laura Mercier, and I love this powder. It is her Candleglow powder, and this is in shade 1. It really does a great job of not only giving my skin a nice healthy glow, but it does a great job of setting the makeup, and I do not get oily, which is great. I recently found this little thing by Beautyblender, and it is their pocket powder puff. This is how I apply my powder lots of time. It's great, you know, for touch-ups, but it does a great job of setting my makeup whenever I use it with my powder. We've concealed, we've color corrected, we've applied our foundation, and now we have set our foundation. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and be on the lookout for my new video in this 6-part makeup series. Thanks for watching.